darkness, silence, a playground. But not just any playground. This one appears only when the sun goes down. A spectral beacon in the night, beckoning those who dare to play. But be warned, for this playground holds a dark secret. A secret that will chill you to your core. Are you brave enough to enter the playground that only appears at night? Our story takes place in the heart of suburban America, a quiet town, much like any other. Tree-lined streets, friendly neighbors, and at its center, a park. But when the sun sets and the shadows grow long, something wicked this way comes. Whispers of the playground's existence first surfaced online. Strange stories from parents about their children waking up from nightmares, muttering about a glowing playground and a man with no face. At first it was dismissed as mere childish fancy, but then, the drawing started. Intrigued and more than a little unnerved, we decided to investigate. We set up hidden cameras in the park, focusing on the playground area. Night after night, we watched and waited. Nothing. Then, one night, it happened. As if by magic, the playground materialized before our very eyes. Bathed in an ethereal green light, it shimmered and pulsed like a living, breathing entity. And the children, they were there. The next morning, we interviewed the parents of the children we had seen on the footage. None of them had any recollection of their children leaving their beds the previous night. But there was something else. Each child, without exception, had drawn the same chilling image. A playground bathed in an eerie glow, and at its center, a tall, shadowy figure with glowing eyes. What was this creature? Why did it only appear to children? The park, nestled in the heart of our quaint town, was more than just a green space. It was the lifeblood of our community. Mothers pushed strollers along the winding paths, their laughter mingling with the joyous squeals of children playing tag. Elderly couples, their hands intertwined, strolled leisurely, enjoying the warmth of the sun on their faces. Beneath the surface of this idyllic scene, however, lay an undercurrent of unease. The discovery of the children's drawings had cast a pall over the town. Parents once eager to let their children roam free in the park, now eyed the approaching dusk with apprehension. The park, once a sanctuary, had become a source of whispered anxieties. As the sun began its slow descent, the question on everyone's mind was not if the spectral playground would reappear, but what, or who, would it draw to its shimmering embrace. Morning came, chasing away the shadows of the night, but it brought little solace to the troubled minds of our town. The children, oblivious to the fear that gripped their parents, awoke with the same innocent smiles they had always possessed. The events of the previous night, the playground, the creature, it was all gone, erased from their young minds. We interviewed the children, hoping to unlock the secrets hidden within their subconscious. We showed them their drawings, questioned them about the playground, but it was all in vain. Their responses were a frustrating mix of blank stares, shrugs, and innocent denials. The parents, torn between relief and a growing sense of dread, clung to the hope that it had all been a bad dream. But deep down, a seed of doubt had been planted, a nagging suspicion that something sinister was afoot. A breakthrough came unexpectedly from a source we had initially dismissed. Mrs. Emily Carter, a reclusive elderly woman who lived on the edge of town, contacted the police claiming to have information about the playground. Mrs. Carter, known for her eccentric behavior and penchant for telling tall tales, was not taken seriously at first, but her insistence, coupled with a look of genuine fear in her eyes, convinced the authorities to hear her out. What Mrs. Carter revealed sent chills down our spines. She claimed to have seen the playground many years ago, long before the recent incidents. She described it in vivid detail, her words echoing the chilling images captured on our hidden cameras. She spoke of the ethereal glow, the haunting melody, and, most disturbingly, the shadowy figure that stood watch over the children. Mrs. Carter's testimony was unsettling, to say the least. Was she a credible witness or merely a confused old woman, her mind clouded by time and imagination? We were dealing with something far more ancient, far more sinister than we had ever imagined. the idyllic facade of our once peaceful town had crumbled, replaced by an atmosphere thick with suspicion and fear. Parents, their faces etched with worry, kept a watchful eye on their children, their laughter now tinged with a nervous energy. The playground, once a symbol of childhood joy, stood deserted, its swings swaying eerily in the wind. Rumors spread like wildfire, each more outlandish than the last. Some whispered of ancient curses, of restless spirits seeking an outlet for their torment. Others spoke of government experiments gone wrong, of dimensional rifts tearing through the fabric of reality. The truth, whatever it may be, remained elusive, shrouded in a veil of fear and speculation. We were a town under siege, held captive by a force we couldn't understand. The drawings, those chilling depictions of the spectral playground and its shadowy overseer, had become a source of both fascination and dread. Their presence was a constant reminder of the events that transpired in the darkness, events that the children themselves couldn't recall. We pored over every detail, searching for clues, for some hidden meaning that would unlock the mystery of the playground. One detail in particular sent shivers down our spines. In each drawing, without exception, the creature was always positioned just outside the periphery of the playground, its glowing eyes fixed not on the children, but on something beyond the frame. It was as if it were guarding the playground, protecting it from some unseen threat. Desperate for answers, we delved into the town's history, hoping to find some clue, some forgotten legend that would shed light on the mystery of the playground. We scoured dusty archives, poring over old newspapers and historical records, searching for any mention of unusual occurrences, any whispers of the supernatural. Our search led us to a collection of local folklore, tales passed down through generations, often dismissed as mere superstition. Among them, we stumbled upon a chilling legend, a story that sent shivers down our spines. It spoke of a malevolent entity, a creature of shadow and darkness, that haunted the very spot where the playground now stood. According to the legend, the creature was bound to the land, unable to leave the confines of the park. Seeking to separate fact from fiction, we sought the expertise of Professor James Hawthorne, a renowned historian and expert in local folklore. Professor Hawthorne, a man of logic and reason, initially dismissed the legend as nothing more than a cautionary tale. However, as we presented him with the evidence, the children's drawings, the eyewitness accounts, his skepticism began to waver. He explained that the park had once been the site of a tragic accident, a fire that claimed the lives of several children. The creature, he suggested, could be a manifestation of the collective grief and trauma associated with that event. Could the playground be a conduit to the past, a place where the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred? As we delved deeper into the mystery of the playground, we noticed a subtle shift in the children's drawings. The creature, once a menacing figure of dread, now appeared less threatening, its features softened, its eyes holding a hint of sadness. It was as if the children, no longer afraid, were projecting their empathy onto the creature, sensing a kindred spirit in its isolation. This unexpected turn of events sparked a glimmer of hope in our hearts. Perhaps the creature, as Professor Hawthorne had suggested, was not inherently evil but rather a lost soul, trapped by its own sorrow. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the park, we gathered at the edge of the playground, our hearts filled with a mixture of apprehension and hope. Tonight, we would face our fears, not with weapons or aggression, but with open hearts and a willingness to listen to the whispers of the past. Twilight deepened into night, the air growing heavy with anticipation. We stood at the edge of the park, our makeshift command center a hive of hushed whispers and nervous energy. Cameras were strategically positioned, their lenses trained on the playground, ready to capture whatever unfolded in the darkness. The hours crawled by, each tick of the clock amplifying the tension. We huddled together, our eyes glued to the monitors, searching for any sign, any flicker of movement that would herald the playground's return. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the chirping of crickets and the distant rumble of traffic. And then it began. A faint shimmering, like heat haze rising from the asphalt, appeared in the center of the playground. It pulsed and grew, casting an eerie green luminescence that spread outwards, consuming the darkness. The transformation was as sudden as it was mesmerizing. The swings are now swinging wildly, as if propelled by unseen hands. The slide gleams under the eerie light, and the air fills with the sound of children's laughter, distorted and echoing. The familiar sounds of the park, the chirping crickets, the rustling leaves, were replaced by a haunting melody, a music box tinkling a tune both beautiful and unsettling. It seemed to emanate from the very core of the playground, weaving itself into the fabric of the night. As I watched, transfixed, figures began to emerge from the shadows, their forms solidifying under the ghostly glow. And then I saw him. At the periphery of the spectral light, partially obscured by the trunk of a towering oak, stood the figure from the children's drawings. It was taller than I had imagined, its form shifting and coalescing like smoke given life. Its eyes, 2 points of malevolent green fire, burned with an intensity that sent chills down my spine. He stood motionless, a silent sentinel guarding his spectral domain. The children, seemingly oblivious to his presence, continued their play, their laughter echoing through the night. Yet there was an undeniable tension in the air, a sense of anticipation that hung heavy over the playground. I found myself holding my breath, my heart pounding in my chest. The young girl, the same one who had first drawn our attention to the playground, broke away from the group. She moved with a strange, stilted gait, her eyes fixed on something just beyond our position. I had the unnerving sensation that she was looking directly at me, through me, as if I were no more substantial than the air itself. As she drew closer, I could hear a faint murmuring, a low thrumming that seemed to emanate from her very being. It grew louder, resolving into words that sent a chill down my spine. "He wants you to know," she whispered, her voice high and reedy, as if controlled by an unseen force. "He wants you to remember." Remember what? The question echoed in my mind, a knot of fear tightening in my stomach. What was it that this creature, this entity, this thing, wanted us to remember? Was it a warning, a threat, or something far more sinister? The ground beneath our feet rumbled, a low tremor that seemed to shake the very foundations of the park. The air crackled with static electricity, raising goosebumps on my arms. The spectral playground, once a beacon of otherworldly light, began to flicker, its glow dimming and intensifying in rapid succession. The children, their laughter now replaced by a chorus of distressed cries, huddled together, their eyes wide with fear. The shadowy figure, its form writhing as if in agony, turned towards them, its glowing eyes burning with an intensity that belied its earlier stoicism. It reached out a hand, its form wavering, as if struggling to maintain its grip on this reality. And then, as quickly as it began, it was over. The light, the laughter, the haunting melody, all gone, vanished into the ether, leaving behind only the faint scent of ozone and the lingering echo of fear. We were left standing in the darkness, our hearts pounding, our minds reeling from what we had just witnessed. Dawn broke over the park, painting the sky in hues of rose and gold, but the beauty of the sunrise did little to ease the unsettling feeling that clung to us like a shroud. The playground was gone, vanished into the ether, leaving behind only the echo of its haunting melody and the weight of unanswered questions. We stood there for what felt like an eternity, the silence broken only by the chirping of birds, a stark contrast to the cacophony of the previous night. The events we had witnessed replayed in my mind, a chaotic jumble of images and sounds that defied logic and reason. The police, alerted by our frantic calls, arrived soon after, their initial skepticism giving way to concern as they surveyed the scene and listened to our fragmented accounts. But how do you explain the unexplainable? How do you convince seasoned officers of the law that what we had witnessed was not a collective hallucination, but a glimpse into a realm beyond our understanding? The following days were a blur of activity as the investigation into the spectral playground got underway. Forensic teams, armed with the latest technology, scoured the park for any trace, any physical anomaly that could explain the strange occurrences. Geiger counters clicked, EMF readers hummed, but the results were inconclusive. The park, it seemed, held its secrets close. We shared our findings with the police, the children's drawings, the eyewitness accounts, the chilling legend of the Shadow Man. They listened patiently, their expressions carefully neutral, but I could sense their doubt. And who could blame them? We were asking them to believe in the impossible, to accept that the line between reality and nightmare had become blurred beyond recognition. Despite the lack of physical evidence, a sense of unease settled over the town, a shared feeling that something was amiss, that we were not alone. Parents kept their children indoors, their laughter now a distant memory. The park, once a symbol of community and joy, stood empty, a silent testament to the unseen forces that held our town captive. Professor Hawthorne, intrigued by the events unfolding in our town, threw himself into the investigation with an almost obsessive zeal. He immersed himself in local history, poring over old maps, property records, and first-hand accounts from the town's early settlers. He was determined to uncover the truth behind the legend, to separate fact from folklore. His persistence paid off. Buried deep within the archives of the Historical Society, he stumbled upon a faded diary, its pages filled with spidery handwriting. The diary belonged to a young woman, a schoolteacher who had lived in our town over a century ago. Her entries painted a chilling picture of a community gripped by fear, a fear that mirrored our own. The schoolteacher's words confirmed our worst fears. The spectral playground, the shadowy figure, the haunting melody, it had all happened before. The entity, whatever it may be, was not a recent phenomenon but a malevolent force deeply intertwined with the history of our town. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the park, we gathered once more at the edge of the playground, drawn back to the site of the spectral occurrences by a force we couldn't quite explain. We were no closer to understanding the true nature of the entity or its connection to our town. The police, their investigation inconclusive, had been forced to abandon their efforts, attributing the events to mass hysteria and the power of suggestion. But we knew better. We had seen it with our own eyes, felt it in the chill that ran down our spines, heard it in the whispers of the wind. The spectral playground may be gone for now, but the memory of that night, the haunting melody, the chilling gaze of the Shadow Man, would forever linger in our minds, a constant reminder that some things defy explanation, some secrets are best left buried. And as the last rays of sunlight faded from the sky, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, that the entity, whatever it may be, was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for its moment to return. The playground, a shimmering mirage of childhood dreams turned nightmare, has vanished. The laughter of spectral children, the haunting melody of the music box, the watchful gaze of the Shadow Man, all faded with the morning mist. Our town, once gripped by fear, slowly returns to normalcy, but the scars run deep, a constant reminder of the darkness beyond our perception. We grapple with unanswered questions, haunted by fragmented memories. What was the true nature of the spectral playground and its guardian? Was it a manifestation of grief, a rip in reality, or something more sinister? And what of the children? What did they experience in those moments of otherworldly play? The answers remain elusive, perhaps forever lost in the ethereal realm. Life, as it always does, goes on. The park, once silent, echoes with laughter and play. But beneath the surface, unease remains, a sense of being watched. Children whisper of the playground that appears at night, their drawings a testament to the unseen forces shaping our world. The spectral playground serves as a chilling reminder of the unknown. It is a testament to belief, the allure of the unknown, and the fragility of the human psyche. The truth remains hidden, lost in the shadows of that spectral playground. The search for answers continues, fueled by curiosity and fear of the unknown.